Hey, it's Mick, and this is the third time I've recorded this intro, maybe the fourth, I honestly lost track. So, this video was supposed to come out in October of last year, but I got delayed, but I figured, well, one more month shouldn't be so bad. But then the hustle and bustle of the holiday season happened, I recorded voice lines for a video game that I may or may not be able to talk about yet. Then I had to get some certifications done for my day job, pay my taxes, first time I did it by myself by the way. I was dealing with hand pain that developed into tendinitis, not fun, but fortunately, I'm now on the mend, and now able to draw with little to no pain, so maybe now I can finally get this out by... Well, I guess this can still work as a Halloween video. You're late, but... I'll be honest, I kinda lost interest in doing videos like this and have two other projects that I want to work on that would, granted, take longer to make, but I'm also much more excited to work on them. But at the same time, this video was already like 80% done, so... let's just go ahead and finish it. No sense in letting all this work go to waste. I mean, hey, at least it gives me something to work on to ignore the absolute insanity that is this presidential administration. I want to go on a rant about that, but then I'd have to make more art for this video, and this production has taken long enough as it is, so I'll just put a pin in that for later. For now, let's not dwell on the growing negativity and insanity outside our doors, and instead, let's draw something random with the fusion generator! Yes, I actually got the app. It's free, with ads. Hey, nothing's perfect. But whatever, let's generate some fusions and have some fun, why don't we? And first up on our character fusion docket is Zelda and Princess Kida from Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Okay, that's actually a good combo. Two princesses who come from a long line of royalty, connected to an ancient society, and want to learn more about their people's history, as a good chunk of it is a mystery wrapped in myth and legend. These two actually line up pretty well. Starting with the face, I just did a few quick sketches just combining different aspects of both characters just to see what worked well together. I tried to include the lips from Kida into this, but yeah, I just couldn't make it work. I admit, lips are not my strong suit. Not that I can never make them work, just I do it so rarely. Larry the Cucumber would be ashamed. As for the outfit, I tried to blend aspects of Zelda's robes in Tears of the Kingdom with Kida's queen outfit at the end of her movie, complete with the little... I think it's a headdress, the thing with the feathers sticking out of it. I think it works well for the most part, but that banner thing in the middle... Whew, that was a struggle. I tried to simplify it as best I could while still keeping the Zelda feeling, and I'm satisfied, but... Whew... See, 3D models can get away with being designed in a complex way, you just need to make it once and you're done. The rest is just puppeteering, basically. A 2D drawing, though, has to be done over and over again. This is why so many artists recommend keeping your design simple, because if you're having to do a complex design over and over again, it can get tiring. After a few adjustments and a better idea of what I'm working with, I decided to play around with the color palette. Which is an interesting challenge, as Zelda has a lot of green and gold, and Kida has a lot of blue, white, and purple. In the end, not as much green on this design, but the gold accents do pair nice with the purples and blues. And I mean, hey, Link ditched the green look too, so... You can't see me, but I'm shrugging. And as far as the skin tone, well, I felt a little bad that the design leaned pretty heavily on the Zelda side, so using Kida's hair and skin colors was my way of trying to tip the balance back the other way, if that makes sense. And thus, our Princess Zelkida. I mean, I think that's as good a name as you're gonna get with this combo. So for the pose, I had a general idea of what I wanted, and it's a great visual with her holding the shining crystal, fitting both characters. Yes, can't forget the single hair strand over the ear, of course. See, I had a good idea for a pose, and I like it a lot, but this is where maybe planning out the background would have been better. Or heck, I'm realizing in retrospect that even just adding a dark gradient in the background would have done fine, but for some reason, I wanted to mimic the backgrounds in Tears of the Kingdom. And, I mean, It's not bad. I like the water effects and the way I did the floating islands in the distance, but yeah, I think I made this one more complicated than it needed to be. But hey, at least it turned out well. Can't complain about that. And for our next combination is Emperor Kuzco and Count Chocula. Well, we had a relatively cool fusion for the first one. I guess we needed a silly one to balance things out. And hey, another Disney character. If I had a nickel for every Disney character I randomly got to fuse, I'd have 2 nickels.
Which isn't a lot, but it's still weird that it happened twice, right?
So once again, just sketching out a few ideas, mixing and matching different traits to find something that looks good. I decided to incorporate the collar from Yzma's cape from the movie to better fit the vampire side of this character. I tried to incorporate the sun crown, but, I mean, it felt wrong trying to put that on a creature of the night. So, Chocula hair it is. I figured if I was gonna draw Kuzco, or Count Kuzco, look, I'm trying, okay? Point is, there was really only one clear choice when it came to the pose, and fortunately for me, this also gave me a good plan for the background too. I think there were just plants in the original frame of the movie, but I decided to replace them with pedestals with cereal bowls on them. Just to make the Chocula half a little more clear, because otherwise, this is just Vampire Kuzco. I also added a moon crescent on the door and some bat wings to the wall, again, playing into the vampire side. Unlike the previous fusion, I did not plan out the color scheme ahead of time. I tried just using Kuzco's usual color scheme, but I don't know, something felt off about it. It's not until I changed the red to orange and the blue to green where it felt more Halloween-ish, and it was like, yeah, that's better. And the rest of the room was given a similar color scheme, but I decided to make the cereal bowls green to just provide some contrast, and of course, gotta color in the chocolate cereal. In the shading stage, man, those shadows around Kuzco's legs were hard to get right, but I got there eventually. You know, for as ridiculous as this combo is, I think this result is actually pretty cool. I mean, I'd eat some Count Kuzco cereal, if I weren't diabetic, but hey, if I was a kid and didn't have to worry about that, I'd be all over this. Next up, Meg from Hercules and Rapunzel. Huh, another Disney princess fusion. If I had a nickel for every fusion with a Disney princess I've generated so far, I'd have 2 nickels.
Which isn't a lot, but it's still weird that it happened twice, right? And if I had a nickel for every time I used this joke, I'd have 2.
No, 3. I don't think this joke was designed to work with the rule of 3. Anyway, this is going to be an interesting challenge because we're combining 2 very different energies here. With Rapunzel, we have an introverted but still enthusiastic Disney princess. And with Megara, we have a Lois Lane-ish femme fatale. And it took me a few tries in the sketch phase, but I think I did end up finding a good balance. As strange as this combination is, I think I found a design that makes it work. With the Greek theme, I decided to just stick with Megara's normal dress. But fortunately, both of these girls wear purple, so color scheme-wise, this matches up. Though with Rapunzel being blonde and Megara being dark red, maybe scarlet, I tried to find an in-between color and settled on orange, with some red lines for accents. I also decided to keep the top part of the hair relatively similar to Megara's look while giving it some Rapunzel curls and length. Looking back, the color scheme does feel very Daphne Blake-ish, but I think it works here. I tried to just wing the background like with Zelkida, but it just wasn't clicking. But I did like the pose and I didn't want to lose that, so I sketched out some ideas for a background and found one with a little pool that I think worked well. Also, the little Cupid statue in the background, it will eventually become a Chirithy statue by the end of this. I don't know, I was drawing Disney stuff, I was playing some Final Fantasy at the time, that's just where my mind was at. And to lean into the Rapunzel side of things, I decided to put flowers everywhere. I think these flowers are the reason this took me so much more time than the rest of these, but hey, it was worth it. It helps add a little extra color to the piece. I also tried a softer shading style than the usual cell shading I normally do. It looks nice, and it's something I would use for another piece later, but that's for another video. And for our next character, hold on, add. Okay. Anyway, so the next character is Dracula, fused with an original character you created. So I'm just reinterpreting this as a vampire version of that character.
Man, if I had a nickel for every vampire I generated in this challenge, I'd have...
No, sorry, my heart's just not in the joke anymore. Let's just move on. Anywho, for the character we're going to curse with vampirism, I'm going with my first D&D character, Milo Al-Hidia, who has been on the channel before. Now, Milo becoming a vampire is a highly unlikely scenario for a wide variety of reasons. He's a paladin, he's got some time manipulation abilities to either avoid or undo a vampire bite, and even if those fail, he's currently traveling with 2 people who also have ways to prevent this. But for the sake of this exercise, let's take a peek into the Nightmare universe, where every contingency to prevent vampirism fails and Milo, a beacon of light, falls into darkness. I guess it helps that his current wardrobe already kind of lends itself to a vampire look, so unintentional coincidence there. Now first I just tested out a few color schemes for his undeathly visage, starting with just a faded version of his usual color scheme. I also tried a white hair, yellow eye combo, taking some inspiration from Auntie Aqua from Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, she was also a beacon of light corrupted by darkness, so made sense. Don't worry, she got better. While I was letting those color schemes sit for a bit, I figured I'd give his Holy Avenger a vampiric makeover as well. An unholy Avenger, if you will. And sometimes when I'm designing things, it takes me a few tries to find something I like. In the case of this sword, it's a rare case of nailing it in one take. Doesn't happen often, but I appreciate it when it does happen. After that, I returned to the color scheme of Milo, and in the end, I figured the best one was just the red eyes, silver collar on his jacket, and the rest of his colors otherwise faded was enough to sell the look. Like, from afar, his enemies might not notice anything is wrong. It wouldn't be until they got close that they realized the dark truth, and by then, it's too late. After this, I sketched out a few ideas for a final pose before settling on this one. Next is just refining the form, blocking out the shape of the sword, and adjusting those hands. Yeah, my hands have improved significantly over the past year. They're not perfect, but I'm just happy they're at least passable. So, at the end of this, I'm quite happy with the final design. Again, an extremely unlikely possibility. But if it did ever come to fruition, this character would make for a terrifying boss fight. I mean teleportation, shape-shifting, elemental spells like fireball, swift melee strikes, and this is all before I add in the abilities his vampirism would give him. A vampiric Milo would be terrifying for a party to deal with. But with a cleric or paladin among their ranks, they might stand a chance. Because even in this state, Milo is a glass cannon. He can deal a lot of damage, but not take a lot of damage. Thus is the plight of those who walk the path of the wizard.
Phenomenal cosmic power!
Itty bitty health bar.
His paladin levels help give him some better defense, but not by much. So he can be hurt, but you've got to catch him first. And make sure he doesn't throw the first punch, or fireball, as the case may be. And I think that'll do it. And I don't want to make any more art for this video. This was supposed to be just a quick little video for fun, and okay, yes, I did have fun making it, but it also took me over a year to finish. Though, granted, part of that is just life getting more hectic lately, something that's beyond my control. What I didn't mention in the intro was having to move house earlier this year. Not out of state, unfortunately, but moving all that heavy furniture and building new furniture on top of that was not helping my hands. Which required more rest, which meant less time actually making stuff, which was misery, to put it lightly. But even with all that settled and out of the way, and now my hands are still on the mend, even with all that, it occurs to me that trying to play the current social media game of constantly making and uploading content on a frequent basis, it just doesn't work for me. It's a pace that I can't keep up with. And it's not for lack of trying. However, this does not mean I'm quitting. Dude, in this US presidential administration, I need to be creative in order to keep my sanity. So, I need to start rethinking my strategy for turning my passion into my livelihood. I'm gonna start taking my time with the content I make and being more of my authentic self, focusing more on quality instead of quantity. On that note, I think I'm gonna redesign my avatar again. This current design just doesn't feel like me anymore. But I'll save that for the next upload. Just, reminder, I'm gonna look different by then. But this is a good change. A necessary change. So, I'll see you then, if you're patient enough. And thank you if you have been patient. Thanks for sticking around. It really does mean a lot.